This is a short video class on the negative effects on children from ongoing conflict after a divorce or a family breakup. Parents often worry that their children will be messed up by a divorce. It's actually not the divorce that the researchers have found messes up kids. It's the ongoing conflict that never ends for the children involved in a family breakup or a divorce. This program will teach you some of the negative effects of the ongoing conflict, but we end with the good news of what you personally can do to reduce that impact and to save your children, move on, and have a terrific life, even if you're dealing with a difficult co-parent. So, let's get started. I'm Dr. Deena Stacer, and I've been teaching parenting classes in San Diego since 1983. I've been teaching high-conflict co-parenting classes for San Diego parents for the family courts since 1997. And I was involved in a high-conflict custody breakup myself for approximately 7 years. I learned what to do, and I learned what not to do to end the conflict while protecting my children. I'm going to share with you the effect of conflict on your children in this short video and a few strategies to protect them. If you find your situation fits my discussion, you should register for one of my online co-parenting courses. When both parents are distracted because they are fighting, the ongoing conflict can create permanent problems for your children. Your children may never create solid emotional connections with either of you. They may experience distrust for all adults, even you, because they are not getting their needs met. They may become agitated, upset, and act out. Their behavior may keep the conflict between the two of you going because you are probably arguing that it's the other parent's fault that your child is misbehaving. Your children cannot stop their negative cycle behavior by themselves because they do not have the skills and because you need to role model it for them. They have not yet developed emotional control because you haven't taught them. Their emotions are usually ignored by their parents because the parents haven't reduced their own emotions due to the ongoing fight. Your children will become hypersensitive to your arguments, which means that their behavior may be causing even more arguments between the two of you. And your children may become hyper alert to any of the arguments between the two of you, no matter how small. I have the little girl that I worked with, she was around 9. She was telling me one day that whenever the phone rings and it's the real estate agent and she's at her mom's house, that she can't stop listening to the conversation and it really upsets her. And the reason is that the father is telling the children when they're with him, you know, mommy's making me sell the house and it's mommy's fault that we're selling the house and, you know, all the stuff that goes with that. And so she couldn't stop being in the argument or involved in listening to it because it was so intense. And all walls have ears when kids are involved in conflict. And although you say, oh, no, you know, we don't fight around the children, it's in your breathing. It's in your tone of voice. It's in your whole psyche. Your kids know when they're in danger, if you're distracted, if you're breathing heavy, if you're upset, if you're saying, you know, how's everything? Fine. You know, they know that stuff. And so I talked to the little girl and I said, well, is there any place that you can go to when the phone rings and you know it's the real estate agent? And she couldn't find any place in the house they were living in that she felt she could be safe, number one, away from that discussion. Because she was hypersensitive, she had to listen. And that's the structure of conflict. As I went to the mom and I said to her, look, there's a problem. Every time the phone rings, it's a real estate agent, your daughter's getting traumatized. Next time, can you just go outside and go down the street and talk on the phone when she calls? She goes, yeah, I could do that. So we went to the daughter and we told her from now on what's going to happen is that when the phone rings and it's the real estate agent, mom's going to go down the street. And I'm just going to say to you, honey, mom's down the street talking on the phone. I'll be back in a few minutes. If you need anything, come get me. Now she's not involved in the discussion. She's not hypersensitized. She's not having some emotional issues that relate to the trauma between both parents. So think about what you can do to eliminate your children from being directly involved in overhearing, needing to hear, wanting to hear, not wanting to hear. It's like a no-win situation for them. All arguments feel dangerous to your children. Because again, when children are born, they are reading the body language of their parents. They're reading their eye contact. They're reading the breathing rate. They're reading the pieces that make a person alive. And children know if they're unsafe or not. So if mom has a baby in arms and she goes to the front door and opens the door and she's anxious, the kid reads that. If dad's upset for the day, maybe there's something going on at work, the child reads that. And children, when they're born and two parents are in the home, they don't see their parents as separate beings. They see them as one unit. So if one parent's anxious or upset, then the children read that they're anxious and upset, and the child reads that they're not safe. So all the more reason for us to really disengage from the conflict and learn new ways to calm down. Did you know that your children feel pain at 100%? Now, this is kind of an astounding concept. They experience all emotions at a more intense level than you as an adult do. You can put your emotions in a drawer. You can go to work and it's in the back of your mind on the back burner, but you don't necessarily have the time to deal with it. But kids can't do that. They haven't learned to do that yet. So they may be so overwhelmed by the trauma of the conflict that they actually go numb or they act out, which is where we have serious problems with children, that if the conflict continues for a long, long time, years, months, whatever it is, then your kids have the risk of being permanently damaged. And I would assume if you're listening to this that you don't want that to happen. They may attempt to intervene in all of your arguments to reduce their own anxiety. They often feel useless because they can't stop the fight, inadequate, and depressed because they can't control their pain. And they may believe that their family life is chaotic, unpredictable, and very scary. And if you're already split up in two homes, then they're going to feel that if both parents are still fighting and you're still angry and you're still upset and every single time the phone rings you have that anxiety reaction, kids know that they're not safe. Well, so I'm laying it on thick for you too, so you really are motivated to end the conflict. So did you know that parents in conflict cannot calm down? So the children cannot calm down either. Your children will experience higher levels of anger, sadness, and worry because they lack your support to calm them down. So when you're wound up, you obviously can't calm anybody else down. So we got to get you calmed down first. They'll blame themselves for the ongoing conflict. Why? Because they believe that since their parents are fighting over them, it's their fault that they were even born and that their parents are fighting. And they're in a no-win situation. Pretty scary, isn't it? And in a situation, if you have a difficult co-parent, you might find that one of the parents cannot regulate their own emotions. They don't have insight about their own behavior. They actually thrive and enjoy the conflict, and they cannot get in their children's shoes and understand that their behavior is frightening them even more. Your children may be afraid that they will be sucked into their parents' conflict and then will be forced to take sides. That's pretty heavy duty right there, and it often happens. They often witness physical aggression with one or both of their parents, and this can create more behavioral, academic, and adjustment problems for your children. So you as a parent need to understand that your kids need you to calm down, and then we need to control contact and communication so that you can eliminate any more potential problems with physical aggression. Your children may experience severe emotional problems, which are 4 times more common in children of abused women than in homes that are not violent. If you didn't ever have physical aggression, but you had a lot of angry words and a lot of fear and a lot of other stuff that went on, then again, your kids are still going to experience tremendous fear. The good news is that children can recover from that information if we move them to a different place in their lives. And the only way that can happen happen is if you personally learn new skills and you move them to a place where it's not fear-driven anymore, where you're not always reacting, when you've moved on with your life and you have power in your life and you're no longer frightened by the other parent. You may find that your children may have difficulty concentrating in school and doing their homework. They may have difficulty concentrating on anything. Your children may seem very distant. They may not want to be with their friends, or they may want to be with their friends to avoid any more fighting. And this all depends on their personality and their age. When children are involved in chronic conflict with their parents, they will usually have tremendous difficulty developing positive, long-lasting social relationships with other children. And this then causes them trouble as they mature and try to establish adult relationships. What you'll find in a high conflict custody fight, if there's ongoing conflict and there's a personality issue with one of the parents, one of those parents may not be able to have good relationships with other people. They may be able to convince everyone that they've got their act together, but behind closed doors, they fall apart. They're angry, they can't control their emotions, they have only two different emotions. They have either rage, anger, or complete victimization, weakness. And I find that that is a very common phenomena for parents that are involved in my class, that they come in and they go, oh my gosh, that is so true. So you as a parent, your job is to help your children learn how to have these different emotions that fit in between the rage and the weakness, the loneliness. And they are, I was a little irritated. I was frustrated. I was a little bit scared. I was angry, not rage and out of control emotions. And I am so weak and so lonely, you have to take care of me emotions. You as a parent have to teach those skills. And then you also have to teach your children how to get along with other people. And I have a whole series of things that I teach on the online classes. So if that is an issue for you, be sure and let me know via email, and I will make contact with you and tell you which course to take. When parents are in conflict, you'll often find that one of the parents may have a personality disorder, substance abuse issues, parental deficiencies, or character flaws that stop them from being with their children or being able to appropriately parent their children with parenting skills. Parents in conflict often become more sensitized over time to their children's failure in school, their misbehavior, and their cries for help and attention. What happens a lot of times, you're so distracted again that when kids are starting to have problems, you kind of give up. You're still fighting with the other parent, and then you want to blame the other parent for the kid's misbehavior, and then what happens is kids keep failing because they're not getting the attention they need in either home, and so the kids start going downhill, and parents don't know what to do, so they give up. They feel paralyzed. They feel powerless themselves. And parents in conflict often feel powerless, helpless, and inadequate themselves because they have been unable to end the conflict with the other parent. Parents in conflict try to make their children their confidants about the ongoing parental conflict. It's part of the nature of the conflict. Often, parents will place their children in this negative, uncomfortable position and may not even realize they're doing it or deliberately do it. Often, parents are more focused on whether their child is aligned with them and how to keep them aligned than helping them out with their schoolwork or reducing any discipline problems. Here's something you need to know, that parents in conflict have two major child-sharing fears. Now, I'm only talking about those fears here. I'm not talking about the other fears that drive conflict. The first one is the fear that they will lose the love of their children because of the conflict, the other parent, or because of the divorce or breakup. The second one is the fear that the children will be messed up because of the breakup, the divorce, the conflict, or the other parent. Now, here's the good news. If I could tell you that your children would turn out okay if you followed everything I told you to do, I could teach you the skills, you could implement the skills, your children would turn out okay, would you stop having conflict? And the answer is yes. No matter what the other parent did, if you knew that you knew that you knew that your children would turn out okay, you would stop being afraid. You would stop reacting to their craziness, and you would move on with life and make sure your children were okay. And that's the purpose of my course. All of my courses are designed to help you make sure that your children turn out okay. Now, have I gotten your attention with all the bad news yet? Of course I have. And I spent a little time sharing that with you with a little bit of good news wrapped in between, because you need to understand the impact of ongoing conflict. And most parents involved in conflict who want to end the conflict are looking for answers. They're looking for hope. They're looking for ways that they can save their children. So let me show you the basics on protecting your children from all the icky, ugly, awful, terrible stuff that could create lasting scars. And let's get started. Did you know that when children are attached to at least one of their parents during a high conflict custody divorce or breakup, the children end up becoming resilient? Isn't that good news? It only takes one parent for the children to turn out okay. Is that a relief or what? That is amazing news, isn't it? And yet research has proven that when one parent is attached closely to the children, even in conflict situations, the children turn out okay. Now, do you have to do some work? Yes. Should it be you? Of course. Let's define resilience. It's the ability to withstand or recover from difficult situations. When one of the parents in a high conflict situation has a personality disorder, parental deficiencies, character flaws, substance abuse issues, these problems will interfere with their ability to effectively parent and co-parent. The parent without these issues must keep the children bonded closely to them to develop that resilience, and they must parent to the 100th power so their children are not damaged by the other parent. You must create a powerful bond with your children to buffer them from becoming emotionally damaged by a high conflict parent. As you learn to disengage from the other parent, you will calm down. And you will be giving your children the message that you are a nurturing and powerful parent, and they can trust you to protect them. Now, if the other parent is difficult, angry, or lacks compassion, you will also need to teach your children how to manage their time with that parent so they're not psychically wounded. You must also teach your children to have insight and develop emotional intelligence, because the high conflict parent often lacks these traits. One of the things that you need to learn is to stop responding to the other parent's emotional or psychological attempts to keep you engaged in the child custody battle. Trying to co-parent with the other parent actually requires that you reach an agreement with them on how you're going to parent the children in both of your homes together. And this requires that you talk to the other parent. Now, I have found that working with a difficult parent and trying to get them to agree with you is an impossible task. So I'm giving you permission to quit trying to fail so hard. That's good news, isn't it? When I teach you the strategies to disengage from the conflict and totally focus on raising your children, getting into their imagination, protecting them from harm, teaching them the skills so that they become normal functioning adults, you will win. And the only way you can do that is to stop using your energy to focus on what the other parent's doing to you or at you, and learn to let go of the craziness that doesn't really count, except for it keeps you distracted. Many parents believe that if they are not trying to work together, then they're not co-parenting, and the courts are going to be mad at them. And actually, this is not true. One of the definitions of co-parenting that I often teach parents is the absence of conflict is peace. Therefore, if there's peace, you must be co-parenting. If you're not in the court system, you must be co-parenting. So our goal is to get you to the point where you stop engaging with the other parent, stop trying to reach agreements with them, stop having conflict, and stop going to court. I know that's easier said than done if the other parent's dragging you in there, but your goal is to make sure that if you have to keep going back to court, you're still focused on the children, and your language says that. And there's certain things that you can do to get the court to understand that this is not about the children, this is about keeping the conflict going. In terms of the courts being mad at you, if you're not in the court, how are they going to be mad at you? If you go back to court, one of the things you need to do is use the language of co-parenting, but you need to practice parallel parenting. If you could co-parent with the other parent, you would be doing it already, right? Your efforts to get the other parent to work with you are taking away your life energy. You only have so much energy in a day. You can use all of your energy to parent your children, to bond with them, to protect them from permanent damage, to teach them, to train them, to create joy, curiosity, wonder, and adventure. Or you can respond to the other parent and do nothing that's good for your children. You only have so much energy in a day. How much energy are you giving to the other parent, which is taking away from the energy for the children? Every time you see the other parent or hear their voice, visual, verbal, whether in person, through text messages, emails, telephone contact, or through another person, an attorney, a family member, even the children, it will take you a minimum of 3 days to calm down from every single one of these interactions. When you're distracted by the other parent, then it's lights on, no one is home for the children. If you're having daily interactions, you see them at exchanges, you see them at the drop-off at the school, you see them when a parent comes to the home to pick up the little ones, they deliver them back in the evening. You're having ongoing interaction through email and text messaging. If you're having a co-parenting counseling sessions, if you're doing parenting classes and you're supposed to both go together, every one of those interactions spins you out for 3 days. If you're having daily interaction, you're spun out 21 times in a week. Now, how good are you for your children? You're not. So we want you to figure out a way to exchange the children without seeing the other parent. Exchanges can be done at school or daycare to reduce that face-to-face exchange time. Stop responding to texts and emails that you don't need to respond to. Now, in my online classes, I talk at length about what's important and what's not important. But you just need to know that every time you hear their voice or see their face, you react. It spins you up. When you're spun up, you're not with your children. So you have a choice, with your children, with the other parent. So we want to get you to the place where you're totally using your energy for the children and eliminate all telephone contact and exchanges so you can start to calm down. To create a very close connection with your children, you will need to learn how to string pearls with your children. You do this by planning a series of activities and events with your children that they enjoy doing with you. For example, with your children, you're going to plan meals that require that you discuss what you're going to cook. Then, together, you look up recipes, you make an ingredients list, you buy the food at the store, you prepare the meal, you cook it, and then you share your meal together. All of these activities should be divided up in separate activities that you string together over time. Plan the meal on one day, get the ingredients on another day, make the food, and enjoy the meal on another day. This creates magic with your children. But I cannot tell you the hundreds of parents that this little concept has completely transformed them. They can come into my class all worked up, believing that they're never going to end their conflict, feeling hopeless and powerless, and they go back and implement a couple ideas about how to involve their children in the stringing of pearls, and they come back completely transformed. Their face softens, they calm down, they're thinking differently, and they start telling me stories, funny stories, about how they've been able to disengage from the other parent. Together, you can plan meals, picnics, and parties. You can plan a bicycle ride, or you can set up a plan to create decorations for a special holiday or a family event. You can work together to redecorate your child's bedroom or begin a collection of seashells from the beach, a lake, or the ocean, and on and on and on. Now, you want to plan a variety of different activities that will occur over longer periods of time, such as a weekend, over several weeks, or even months. This creates ongoing positive anticipation with the children, and they feel close to you immediately. They feel close to you during the entire length of the planning and the implementation stages too. Now, you always want to have a string of pearls going, and you want to have different activities that string these events together so that the children always have something to look forward to. When you continuously are engaged in planning activities with your children, that can be anywhere from cleaning the house to planning a vacation, anything on a limited budget or even a larger budget, your children will become closer to you. And as you string pearls with your children, you'll find it's easier to disengage from the other parent, whether you're the one that wants the conflict to go on or they're the one that's trying to keep the conflict going on. You will start feeling better as you draw closer to your children. And your children will start feeling better and closer to you as they win in a relationship with you. To learn more techniques, concepts, and skills that will completely end your conflict with the other parent and help you get closer to your children, take one of my online co-parenting courses at www.parentswithansinconflict.com/courses. I offer courses ranging from 2 hours all the way up to 100 hours to teach you powerful skills. The more conflict that you have, the more course hours I think you should take, because they're filled with lessons, skills, practice, stories that work. Additional free information can be found on my co-parenting blog at www.parentsinconflict.info and on the Parents in Conflict YouTube channel. You will receive a certificate of completion after you have finished any of my online co-parenting courses. These courses have been approved by many of the family courts throughout the United States and in Hong Kong. I will be happy to speak to any court professionals related to your court case to assist you with course approval before you take any of my courses. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at 800-980-0434 or email me at doc@deenastacer.com. You can Facebook me at facebook.com/Deena Stacer, or you can also leave me a message at parentsinconflict.com on the contacts page. I look forward to helping you reduce your conflict and protect your children and getting on with your life. And thanks for watching this video.